There is nothing sadder than a case that went cold and the family of the victim is left not knowing what happened to their loved one. More and more cold cases are getting solved, however. Today we take a look at 5 cold cases that has finally been solved one way or another. Etan Patz was a 6-year-old boy living in Soho, Manhattan. On May 25, 1979, he was on his way to school. This was the first time he was walking to board a school bus on his own. He never made it on the school bus, however. Etan's teachers did not report his absence to the principal. When Etan did not arrive home that day, his mother called the police and a massive search started. A search that unfortunately led to nothing. The detectives thought that Etan's family may be involved, but quickly found that they were not. Etan was one of the first missing children to appear on a milk carton. His father Stanley was a professional photographer and shared a lot of photos of Etan, hoping was to bring his son back home. In 1985, a man by the name of Jose Antonio was identified as a suspect. Multiple boys had accused Jose of leading them into a drain pipe. In the drain pipe, police found photos of Jose and a few boys that resembled Etan. Jose was also able to draw a map of Etan's school bus route. Jose has always denied killing Etan, and there was never enough evidence to arrest him. In 2012, investigators started excavating a house near Etan's house. The house was under construction while Etan disappeared. After searching for 4 days, investigators announced that they found nothing. Also in 2012, a 51-year-old man named Pedro Hernandez confessed to killing Etan. He was 18 years old when Etan disappeared and was working as a convenience worker. Hernandez confessed to strangling Etan and throwing his remains in the garbage. A lot of Hernandez's family members came forward, claiming that he told them that he did something very bad and killed a boy right after Etan disappeared. On April 18, 2017, Hernandez was sentenced to life in prison without a possibility of parole for 25 years. In 1983, the May 25 anniversary of Etan Patz's disappearance was designated National Missing Children's Day in the United States. Krystal Beslanowitch grew up in Washington. She had a rough upbringing and was involved with drugs at a young age. Krystal and her boyfriend moved to Utah. One night in 1995, she went to a convenience store and never came back. 2 days later, her boyfriend reported her missing. On the morning of December 15, 1995, a sheriff's deputy by the name of Todd Bonner found a body on a bank of the Provo River. It was the body of 17-year-old Krystal Lynn Beslanowitch. Todd Bonner tried his best to get the case solved, but the trail went cold. In 2006, when there were new technology at the state crime lab, he entered samples he found under Krystal's fingernails and also on the rocks that her body was found on. Finally, a match was found for the DNA. 46-year-old Joseph Michael Simpson. Joseph served time in the Utah State Prison in the 1980s, but was released in 1995. The county sheriff's office needed more to be sure it was Joseph, however. Detectives followed him around and took a cigarette that he tossed aside. The DNA they took from the cigarette was a match. Joseph Michael Simpson will spend the rest of his life behind bars, with no chance of parole. Christy Mirack was born on November 3, 1967. Christy always had a dream of becoming a teacher.
To look at. Emily, let's go with what we have.
In 1992, when she was 25 years old, she lived in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and had achieved her dream of becoming a teacher. On the 20th December of that year, she was busy wrapping books for the school children individually. Christy wanted all of the children to get her own gift. Unfortunately, she was never able to deliver the presents to the students. The next morning on the 21st, the roommate left for work at 7 a.m. But Christy never made it to work that day. When the principal heard Christy hasn't showed up yet, he immediately got worried because it was so unlike Christy. He tried calling her a few times, but when she did not answer, he decided to call her mother.
I called her mother and I said, "Have you heard from Christy?"
The phone rang. My mom was upstairs. She came downstairs and she said, Chrissy didn't show up for work.
She was worried, I was worried. I said, "I'll tell you what, I'll drive down and I'll probably end up changing her tire on the car." So I started driving. Her mother had given me her address. The farther I went, I did not see her. And then I started to panic. I pulled up, her car was parked there, and I knew something was wrong.
He arrived at her apartment and found a door cracked open, which was strange.
So I'm yelling, "Christy, Christy, Christy."
When she did not reply, he entered and found her lifeless body in the living room. When Christy's family finally reached the principal again, it was a police officer that answered the phone.
Kept calling and calling and calling, and finally when somebody answered her phone at her apartment, they acknowledged themselves as being someone from law enforcement, and there'd just been an accident, and she passed.
What was your reaction when you heard that?
Devastated.
The books that she wrapped up for her kids was all scattered over the floor. There was also a cutting board found in her room that she may have used to try and defend herself with. The day after her funeral, a man arrived at a school she worked at with flowers. He asked to see Christy. He said he was a friend just came to say hello. The school staff called the police since they found it very strange. This man ended up being Christy's secret boyfriend, and he was 20 years older than Christy. This man was cleared quickly, however, since his DNA did not match the DNA that was found at the crime scene. The case unfortunately went cold.
They want justice for their daughter and sister. To law enforcement, her case is one that has gone on for 19 years too long. And to someone who never knew her, Christy Mirack is a name that has always stuck with him. 19 years have passed as the East Lampeter Township Police Department continues to actively investigate any and all leads, none putting anyone behind bars.
Most frustrating because, it's been this long and you haven't been able to solve it.
That is not stopping police or Christy's family from having hope that one day this case will be closed. But until it is, Christy's family says they cannot forget.
The pain is always there. I mean, there's not a day that goes by that, we don't think about her.
Christy's brother Vince was 21 at the time of her death. He says all his big sister ever wanted was to teach.
She finally achieved that dream, and it was taken away from her just like that.
Christy's passion for teaching is what inspired Fred Nell to put the unsolved case in the public eye.
I kept driving by the school, I kept driving by the place she used to live at, thinking about her. I value education. I value that Christy could still be teaching today, 19 years later.
Nell never met Christy or her family, but his signs and t-shirts are reminders that she should not be forgotten, and any information should be shared.
I just knew I could make a difference, and I know one person can make a difference on trying to solve this case.
A sentiment reflected by each person who has been touched by Christy before or after her death.
You can end this, and the family can get final closure to what happened to their daughter.
We desperately want to solve this case. We're very determined to do so, for the family and for Christy.
I don't even want to have to deal with the 20th year anniversary of Christy's death.
Mirack was a teacher at the old Roarstown Elementary School, and Nell says her absence here is sad.
I believe someone out there is going to drive by that eventually one day and say, you know what, I want to talk.
This has been an emotional case for us as well. It reminds us, that we haven't solved this case yet.
2 decades after Christy has passed away, a company by the name Parabon Nanolabs became involved with this case. I have talked about Parabon Nanolabs in a previous video. They have helped solve so many cold cases using their genealogy technology. They used the DNA found at the crime scene to come up with this picture of how the suspect possibly looks.
This is the image that they've come up with, and then down here you'll see the different characteristics. First the ancestry, and then the skin, eye, hair, and the freckles. I'll go through these for those in case you can't see it. So they give you the different percentages and the different shades. The orange bar is where they're saying is the most likely appearance, and then they give you the percentage of confidence that they have that as well.
You started out with 25 and then went 45 and then 55.
Yes, sir.
The DNA doesn't give you any indication of this person's age at the time of the crime, does it?
That's right. They're very clear that the DNA doesn't give you the age or the body mass index. They are doing approximations, and those are the ages that they typically pick. But you're absolutely right. DNA doesn't tell you how old somebody is.
Cece Moore also got involved, and her knowledge of genealogy is amazing, and she has helped solve so many cold cases, most notably the Golden State Killer. Cece partnered with Parabon Nanolabs and matched the DNA of family members of the killer. She did more research and narrowed it down to one suspect. The police held a press conference to announce that they believe they have the guy they've been looking for.
Good afternoon, thanks for coming. Again, apologize for holding you up a little bit. This is a fluid situation, and we just wanted to have things organized before we came in and spoke to you. So, as you said, I'm Craig Stedman. I'm the District Attorney in Lancaster County. There could be a lot more people standing up here. So many people have worked on this case, but today we are announcing the arrest of Raymond Charles Rowe for the murder of Christy Mirack from December 21st, 1992. He is being charged with one count of criminal homicide by Detective Christopher Erb from my office, Lancaster County Detective from the DA's office. He was arrested today at his home and will be taken to Lancaster County Prison. He will not be eligible for bail in this offense. I will go through some of the facts of the case. I'm going to ask Steve Armentrout, who's the CEO of Parabon Labs, to talk a little bit about his critical role in this case and getting us here to this point, as well as Cece Moore. She'll be coming in through Skype.
Genetic genealogy is a relatively new technique. It was thrust into the public spotlight after the Golden State Killer suspect arrest. We used a database called GEDmatch. GEDmatch is a publicly available database.
So the killer is Raymond Rowe, a 49-year-old DJ. He had a family and often attended church.
Susan, Lancaster County District Attorney Craig Stedman joining me. Just wrapped up a press conference on the Raymond Rowe, aka DJ Freeze, guilty plea in Christy Mirack's murder back in 1992. Thank you for joining us. You said this is a case that deserved the death penalty, but you were willing to accept the guilty plea today. Explain that.
Well, on the facts, I mean, it's just so brutal. You know, the law, the death penalty is justified. And having said that, we know in Pennsylvania, they're not really executing people for it, and it's what's more important is what's the family feel. And we sat down with the family, and the family was very much in favor with this disposition to spare them a trial, and he'll never get out.
Life in prison.
Without the possibility of parole, plus 60 years.
You do believe he may have been stalking her from a distance?
There were incidents leading up to this of someone was a peeping Tom at the residence. We also have, we could show that he worked on the same road that was just down the road from her apartment, and it would have been along his route from the city. He would have driven by that hundreds of times, right by her apartment, which is on the corner. So we have some links in addition to that they were frequenting the same social clubs. He actually would DJ, but we don't have anything that says they met.
April Tinsley was born on March 18, 1980, in Indiana. She was really sweet and fun-loving. On April 1st, April asked her mother if she could go to a friend's house, called Nicole. Her mother Janet said yes, of course, just be back by 3:30 p.m. When it was 4 p.m. and April hasn't returned yet, her mother called Nicole's mother. She told her that the two of them were playing in a playground. They left the playground around 3 p.m. Nicole then went to another friend's house, and April realized that she forgot her umbrella at Nicole's house. So the two of them split up at the park. But April never made it to Nicole's house to retrieve her umbrella. A few friends and family members started to look for April, but when they couldn't find her, they called the police. April was wearing a blue turtleneck sweater, a pink and red jacket, light blue pants with 3 hearts on her left leg, and purple shoes. 3 days after April had gone missing, a jogger found a body on the side of the road. The body belonged to April Tinsley.
They came and they showed me the picture, and I was sitting there just like in shock.
You were destroyed.
Yeah. I kind of snapped.
Janet had wanted to be a mother her whole life, and April was the daughter she had always dreamed of.
She was fully clothed, but one of her shoes was missing. They did find her shoe about 800 feet or 250 meters away from where her body was found. The police think that a killer saw the shoe still in his car and threw it out while he was driving. The next day, a motorist came forward, saying they saw a suspicious blue pickup truck on that part of the road. Another witness came forward that they saw a little blonde girl that matched the description of April, walking on that road and getting picked up by someone in a blue truck. The witness described the person in the blue pickup truck as a male in his 30s with sand-colored hair. An early suspect was a guy named Moose. Moose was a local gang member. People claimed that Moose would go up to children in the park and say inappropriate things. Moose passed a few polygraph tests, and there was no real evidence, so the police started looking into other people. 2 years after April disappeared, the police received a call from a man claiming that someone wrote a disturbing message on the side of his barn. The message read, "I killed 8-year-old April Mary Tinsley. Did you find her other shoe? Haha. I will kill again." The note had a lot of errors in it, and police believe the person that wrote it tried to look dumber than they really are. In 2004, a little girl, about the same age that April was, received a note. The note read, "Hi honey, I've been watching you. I'm the same person that kidnapped, raped and killed April Tinsley. Here's a present for you. You are my next victim." There was 2 other messages received by 2 other girls as well. The other note read, "Hi honey, I've been watching you. I'm the same person that kidnapped and raped and killed April Tinsley. You are my next victim. If you don't report this to the police and don't see this in the paper, I will blow up your house." Another tip came in of someone accusing their own father of being the killer. This guy actually lived really close to where April lived. He had a history of child molestation and had a Polaroid camera that he used to take pictures of children. A few days after April's body was found, this man also painted his blue pickup truck a different color. In his house, they found a notebook and matched the notes the killer sent to all the girls, and also the aforementioned Polaroid camera. When questioned by police, the man claimed that he was working on the day that April disappeared. When police checked his records at his work, they found he didn't work that day, or the day that April's body was found. As guilty as he looked, his DNA did not match any of the DNA of the crime scene, however.
After hearing new details of her murder, which happened 24 years ago, April Tinsley's family is speaking out.
They are hopeful another round of national attention could help track down the young girl's killer.
Jim Tinsley says it feels like the crime that shattered his family just happened.
It's been 24 years. Does it feel like that?
No, it seems like yesterday. It does. When it's brought up to the family and that, it seemed like it took place yesterday. You know, it don't seem like 24 years.
April was attached to her Uncle Jimmy in her 8 short years of life.
She was well liked, well loved, and so it was just horrible. And I know somebody out there has to know something. I mean, this can't go on forever and ever. I just hope, you know, it comes to an end, you know. I mean, the family's grieving enough, and we all we want to do is just see that April's, you know, rest in peace for now.
A company by the name of Parabar Nanolabs then got involved in this case. They did some DNA testing and reported that the killer was of English or German descent. With a whole lot more testing, they are finally able to find her killer.
After all these years, it only took weeks to solve the case using a new cutting-edge DNA analysis. They found distant cousins to build the family tree backward, then looked for descendants and narrowed the search to 2 brothers.
It really had to be one or the other because they were carrying the right mix of DNA from ancestors to fit that profile.
Investigators collected DNA from one of the brothers' tracks.
59-year-old John D. Miller was charged with the murder. One of his family members must have given their DNA sample to a website to learn more about their ancestry, and that is how they were able to catch John D. Miller.
John Miller was arrested Sunday. The affidavit says Miller admitted to killing April Tinsley. He has not filed a plea in court and has no attorney.
There's only one word I'm going to ask him is why.
For April's mom, hope that justice may finally be within reach.
I never imagined this would ever come.
April Tinsley's mom, Janet, is taking things in stride.
It's what we've been wanting for so many years, and now it's here.
Today, like so many other days, friends, neighbors, and strangers surrounded Janet to show their support and to let her know that April was loved and still is.
It's kind of a victory lap.
We wanted to give back to the family. They've had a rough time over this last 30 years.
We're all now pretty much at peace right now, and you know, we can be a little bit calmer and we can sleep.
Janet knows the arrest won't bring back the daughter she didn't get to see grow up, but she says it's a good start in seeking justice for April.
Mia Zapata was born August 25, 1965 in Kentucky. She learned how to play the guitar and piano by age 9. In 1986, she and 3 of her friends formed the punk rock band The Kids. The band was active for 7 years until it released their final album in 1993. Around 2 a.m. on July 7, 1993, Mia left a tavern in the Capitol Hill area of Seattle. This was the last time she was ever seen alive again. She met her attacker after 2:15 a.m. She died from strangulation and was badly beaten up. Mia was not identified at first, but was then identified by the medical examiner since he was a fan of her band. It took exactly 10 years for this case to be solved. In 2003, Florida fisherman Jesus Mesquia was arrested in connection with Zapata's murder. DNA evidence was used to tie him to the murder. A DNA profile was extracted from saliva found on Zapata's body back in 1993. Original testing in 2001 failed to generate a match, but Mesquia's DNA entered a national database after he was arrested in Florida for burglary and domestic abuse in 2002. He had a history of violence toward women, including domestic abuse, burglary, assault, and battery. Mesquia never testified in his own defense and still maintains his innocence. The theory is that he saw her leave the bar and followed her a short distance before he attacked. Her headset covered her ears, so she would have been unaware of any danger until he grabbed her and dragged her to his car, where he assaulted her in the back seat. Mesquia was convicted in 2004 and initially sentenced to 37 years, which he appealed. He was then sentenced to 36 years. Mesquia has been in prison since January 2003.